Welcome everybody to the Worst Fans Podcast. I'm your host Marco, and we're here with Rhett and Buck. Say hi, guys.
What's up?
What's up?
And boy, we only have one topic for you today, and it's going to take a while to talk about because we are all very passionate about this topic because we've talked about it before in the podcast. We're bringing it up again. Your favorite Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Our thoughts on the show as a whole is what we're talking about today. We will be reviewing the last episode, obviously, but we're going to talk about the show as a whole and probably just our likes and our dislikes and what they did wrong, what they could have done better. So basically, it's just a complete overview of our thoughts on the show. We're all super passionate about it. We're all Star Wars fans at heart. A lot of us weren't affected, a lot of us were, so let's get started.
Sounds like the way you're approaching this is like it's tragedy that
it really
happened.
I mean,
in
it is
Cincinnati. Gosh, we're all still getting over it. It sounds like there's some serious problem that happened.
We're not really going down a positive road at all.
Yeah, we're not
starting off so.
We're not.
Yeah.
I mean, we said it when we first talked about this podcast before. I mean, this topic before. This show could ruin Star Wars for people. It really could, and for a lot of people, it has. I mean,
well, yeah. We did. I forgot we had an episode, kind of doing a retrospect on what we think we should get out of it. I can't remember all that we said, but wasn't that basically one of our main topics?
Our first episode, wasn't it? Was it our first episode?
Our first episode was May the 4th. It was a bunch of,
and it was probably heavily Obi-Wan.
And it was talking about Obi-Wan,
yeah.
And we had a lot of good ideas. I think we did.
How about this? Before we get into what
that most people had, were easily should have been executed, but weren't even touched upon. So
how about that? Before we get into what we got, let's talk about what we should have gotten and what we kind of anticipated as a fan. What we should have gotten. What we should have expected is probably what we got. I have to admit. But what we should have gotten should have been a lot easier. And I think if the people who wrote it truly got into it and not just watched, I have a feeling they watched the prequels and the originals, and that's probably what they're.
I heard a rumor. One of the writers didn't even watch Revenge of the Sith. So that tells me all I need to know.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
I definitely don't think they watched the Clone Wars. You can't feel that at all.
No,
they almost looked at it like, for those who didn't watch Clone Wars, and they're probably thinking half the audience. Doesn't matter. We won't even address it, so there's no confusion.
I was teased, almost as if they heard about certain characters from the lore of Clone Wars, but their intention was never to bring it to light. Ever. It was just to be like, see, we know it, we acknowledge it.
All right, so I guess what's the pattern? What are we gonna do? You want to go ahead and just review each episode a little bit, give it a 3 minute.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, yeah, let's just go one by one. We could just do that.
All right, so episode 1.
Episode 1. I gave it an 8.
Even an 8. Wow. Okay. I mean,
I thought it was great.
You know what? You're not wrong. I thought the first episode was a good setup. For the start. So
I give it a 9. Honestly, the only goofy thing about it was the chase with Leia. When trying to kidnap her, right?
Yeah. Was that the first? Was that the first or second? No, that was first. That was first.
That was first, yeah. And everything about it, the way Obi-Wan was presented, where he was at, I loved everything about that first episode. Where it was going, it was like, okay, I think we're onto something here. First episode was probably my favorite episode. The most consistent episode where it's like, all right, it was a full episode that made sense in story and writing and yeah.
I mean, first episode I also give an 8, Rhett. It was slow at times, but it was a good episode. I mean, it was a great setup, introduced us to little Leia. We saw Alderaan for the first time, which was like, wow, that's a great thing to see. Because
Alderaan was in episode 2.
3. No. It was episode 3.
Sorry, you're right. My bad.
It was 3 for a glimpse, but we didn't really get a good look at it. You know what I mean? Like a good look.
Yeah.
It was there for a glimpse when they were holding Leia as a baby. But I mean, again,
I like little Leia too.
I also like little Leia. Yeah, a lot of people don't like her, but I think she's perfect as a little Leia. All right, so overall, the first episode wasn't bad.
It was, and I mean, for me, I was worried. I even said at first, I was like, I think it's still kind of fan film feeling for the sake of. I don't think they knew a lot about what they're doing. The fact that they just let Obi-Wan take off without, you know, caring about. Luke's fine, so it's
Mhm.
okay. I think that should have been addressed a lot harder. I think if they'd known Star Wars a little more, they would have realized they need to address that. So they got to it kind of, not in the manner I wanted, but anyway, one had me wanting more. I was like, you know what? There's certain details they paid good attention to, and Leia was impressive. So
Well, I thought a lot of what happened in episode one was going to be addressed later, as far as what it's set up. 'Cause to me, that this was just a setup of what I thought where the show was going.
Yeah.
And you're right, like him leaving Tatooine and everything. Yeah, you're right. There is a point where it's like, well, there's got to be a better reason, or maybe he left someone in charge, to look after Luke. So I thought, maybe this all could be answered as the show goes on. So as episode one, I mean, I honestly thought, for me, it was a 9 out of 10. It got me excited to where the show was. I thought was going to go. So I thought it was a very good first episode.
All right. All right, that's fair.
let's not forget about Owen. He killed it.
True. Owen did a very
Mars,
good
yeah.
job.
He, yeah, I want to see more. I want to see more of them. Actually, they were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So two, this is where it gets a little hesitant for me, because I give that episode a 6.
I
Believe it or
didn't
not.
that bad, but I get you.
I mean,
I liked it fine still.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You go. Your review now. Sorry.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I give it a 6 primarily because the whole chase scene with Leia, again, it was a little meh. The Riva character, again, I don't have a problem with the actress. I just think the writers didn't do a good job with her character. And it kind of shows in the second episode a lot. Though I was very hesitant when the Grand Inquisitor died for the first time, and when that Riva knew who Anakin Skywalker was, like who Darth Vader was. Obviously those are answered in the future, but in the that current episode, it was like, whatever. Okay, I did like the fact that Obi-Wan did not know that Anakin was alive. I actually enjoyed that part of that episode. And also leaving Luke in danger. As at first, I didn't have a problem with it, but I kind of grew on me now that, like, man, Obi-Wan should have never left Luke, because it is his sole duty. But I guess the exception is Leia. So yeah, I mean, overall, that episode was kind of very mixed for me, so that's why I give it a 6.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna follow you on that. I think it was a 6 for me too. Um, Only because of the fact that you're right. I started to see Riva's character kind of unfold, and was wondering why they focusing so much on her. Okay. Also the guy who's faking to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was basically playing himself. You know what I mean? And I think that even happened more throughout the show. He
Yeah.
added really nothing to the overall
Yeah,
story.
it's a
You're
small
right. The
comic
chase scene
relief.
with Leia again was kind of corny, and I started to see visually the budget of the show in
Same.
episode two.
I
I
did too.
started to see like, this does not look that expensive, that massive of a production. I started to see that. And even though I like the fact that, yeah, Obi-Wan did not know who Vader was, the fact where he got his information from Reva kind of made me question, well, how does she know who the hell Vader is? That's such a secretive thing. Very little people know that. And then she kills the Grand Inquisitor, which kind of threw everything off. Like, okay, so are they just erasing, going, just not caring about canon? Or, of course, it was answered later, kind of. But yeah, it was still a decent episode, but I started to see like, okay, this is not exactly where I thought it was going, but all right, there's still hope. But
There's still
that's
hope.
where I
Yeah.
left episode two. Okay.
And here we are, June 22nd. No, but so when it started, if you remember, they of course they premiered the first two back to back same day. So I watched them back to back. So they kind of, I was probably, come to think of it, I said the fan film thing after the second one because I watched them back to back. So they kind of blended. If I really broke that first one out, it's an 8, and maybe this one was a 6. And so together they felt a little better than a 6 because I felt like they were similar.
Yeah, because
Um,
we saw them back to back, so it kind of felt almost like one episode.
yeah, it did. And I like you, I felt the budget start to show in that city, the chase scenes, and uh kind of the acting. I think I remember, and honestly, yeah, they threw Flea in there. Okay, that's weird. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
his acting is absolute crap. Like he might as well just be a guy they grabbed off the street when he's trying to look scared, and it's just too like it was bad. The Grand Inquisitor I didn't think was a good actor either. Sorry, whoever you
I
are,
didn't like
No,
it either.
I didn't
Yeah.
like him.
Then the
You-
jumping around, like the acrobats and parkour with
Yeah.
Riva, especially,
Yeah.
was very like it's let's make her look cool, and it's like she
When she
didn't.
was falling, she was trying to be Batman when she fell off
Yeah,
that
yeah.
building.
It was a little weird. Your comedian, Silicon Valley guy, same thing. I
Yeah.
was like, he just doesn't do it for me. Throughout all this, though, Ewan was solid, and I thought Leia was solid for both of these, so that was good. That worked for me. When he got stabbed, I thought it was a little weak. I thought yet again, just like what she does later in the show, very slow. I'm gonna stab you and kill you, and he just kind of takes it right there. Oh, dang! Like it was very fan
Yeah.
film to me. It just seemed weak. It just reminded me again of how this Grand Inquisitor isn't even supposed to look this way. He's supposed to look like the species he is, a little budget, and there's no good reason whatsoever they didn't actually do that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even if they did it and it looked cheap because you could tell they had to go with a cheaper costume or fake makeup, that would have been better than just not even trying. They phoned it in with that stupid bald man Megamind
Yeah.
trick.
Meatball.
And then by the end of it, you see Vader in the tank, and it got me stoked. I was stoked for the
Yeah.
next one. I couldn't wait to see what was
That
going to
was
happen
that
next.
was the best
You
part
know,
of the episode was when you saw
Seeing
Vader in
Vader,
the
yeah.
tank,
yeah,
and I was like,
it had
oh,
me anticipating more. I was ready to go.
Kind of seeing
Yeah.
their connection almost, because the second you hear Obi-Wan say Anakin, you see Anakin in the Bacta tank, kind of like with his eyes open, like, oh, someone just Obi-Wan's alive, like he said my name.
and I thought the next episode we were gonna get into flashbacks, but okay,
All
whatever.
right, so 3. We're on 3
Episode
now. We
3.
basically said.
Yeah. Thoughts on episode 3?
I thought episode 3 was a tiny bit better than episode 2. Only because of the fact that what we got was so shocking. Because I wasn't expecting Vader and Obi-Wan to have their confrontation so quickly. And I mean, the beginning of the episode where Obi-Wan and Leia were trying to find their meetup guy there was kind of weak. I didn't like that part at all because I even felt the interaction with Obi-Wan and Leia was kind of off. I think that's the episode where Obi-Wan like out of nowhere says, "They're not coming, Leia," or something like that, right? "They're not coming, Leia."
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like weird. Like the interaction was just okay.
Yeah.
And just that whole setup where they're kind of taking Uber uh, out of nowhere, and these stormtroopers aren't suspicious of these two characters that they're supposed to
The
be
old
looking
man,
for.
the little girl. Aren't we looking for? I don't want the
Yeah,
little girl.
yeah.
Doesn't
So
matter.
Literally
Just
says we're
talk.
looking for a Jedi. I mean, like,
yeah,
okay.
Do you remember what
that
Jedi robes
was
look like? Did anyone show you what a Jedi robe looks like? Yeah.
yeah that was weird. So,
Um,
but then later on, when Vader, is in town, he's walking the town and choking out innocent villagers, and a lot of people thought that it was cool, but I kind of found it a little out of place. I just didn't see Vader kind of using his power like that. The only way I justified it is because it was because Obi-Wan, and when it comes to Obi-Wan, he
yeah.
cannot think clear.
Yeah.
He's
When
he's
we
he's
talked
all
about that
about,
before, that
so
some people
I'm
thought it
like,
felt like
okay.
Vader.
I'm like, all right. Well, still, it was good to see Vader again. It was good to see him like, all right, Vader, cool. It was. But then the confrontation between him and Obi-Wan when he's when Vader kind of finds Obi-Wan. And this is where I started to find not so much the budget of the show, but the directing and the camera work. I started seeing like, why is this being filmed like a college student is doing it, like an independent horror movie? The jiggle of the camera and Obi-Wan kind of like running through all scared, and I was like, why is he doing that? Okay. Then they fought, and it was very underwhelming. Just the way it was put together, the music, the composing. and I guess that's the way it was supposed to be. Um, but I found the whole scene kind of awkward. You know, it didn't feel right. Um,
Didn't you have a thing about the music
yeah,
and
the music, yeah, the score of the whole. It was almost actually. I did a stupid little TikTok on it. I
the
compared it to
TikTok on here?
Spaceballs, fight between Darth Helmet and Lone Star. The music of that score almost sounds very similar to what we got in the third episode of Obi-Wan when Vader and Obi-Wan were fighting. It was I couldn't get it out of my head. It was weird. I'm like, this is an odd choice to make. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. I mean, I would give it. I would still, yeah, I would give the episode still a 6 out of 10, only because of the fact I still enjoyed it a little more than the second episode, but the quality and everything's still pretty much the same of what we got from the second episode.
Yeah.
It still wasn't balanced. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah. I also
that's how I feel about
I
the third
kind of
episode.
I also give it a 6. I enjoyed it more than the second episode, but yeah, you're right. It felt that's why I started to see that the show was very cheap compared to all
Yeah,
the other Star Wars projects that they've done. Um, and like the rematch, right? The first time we see Obi-Wan and Anakin,
yeah,
Obi-Wan and Vader fight again, it was very sloppy. I mean, I guess it was kind of to show that like Vader was, stronger than Obi-Wan in a sense, kind of like, and Obi-Wan's kind of out of the game right now. This where we first see Obi-Wan really struggle, like he's like struggling to be a Jedi, and he's because he hasn't done this in years. It's like it's gonna take him a
and the
while,
shock of seeing Anakin as
and the
Vader
shock
is
is
kind of
Vader,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's like it's gonna take him a while to pick it back up, you think, because he's been so out of practice, and Anakin has been in practice for the last 10 years, and he's been practicing the dark side, obviously, and Obi-Wan's just been a hermit for 10 years, and it's you can tell the skill difference immediately. um so yeah, that's why, I mean, that was probably only the decent thing about the episode. Everything else, the mention of Quinlan Voss was what, for nothing. um the
all the
uh
speculation for that character too. We thought, oh man, they're gonna show up in the next episode, and then nothing. It was, yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Again, oh, we know Clone Wars, we didn't mention him. That's it, that's all I did.
What about Obi-Wan, being set on fire by Vader? That scene.
i
Do you like
thought
that
i
scene?
thought that scene was okay. It was kind of whatever. How they escaped, now looking,
The
the
execution
execution,
is what
yeah.
bothers me about the show. They set up certain things and then they don't follow through with it. It's like,
Yeah,
how did he let Obi-Wan escape that? Whatever.
again, my only defense for that is that he wanted Obi-Wan to be stronger, I guess, before to fight him in his full
You could have
potential.
just
But
captured him and put him in a cell and
Yeah,
said, "You're gonna
yeah,
go."
that
yeah,
makes, I
100%, yeah.
don't
He
understand.
wanted him to suffer
He
because, well, later in a future episode we see what Darth Vader can do with the Force, with his full potential, and he could have easily taken down that
sure.
droid, Tala, and Obi-Wan all in one go.
Oh yeah, snap of his finger from across the fire. No big deal.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. So I think I liked it least of all. I think I gave it a 5. And I remember talking to both of you. I kind of felt like, ooh, we all both liked this one more than I did because I felt the fan film. That whole fight felt like one of the better YouTubers out there making a fan film. And
Yep.
it's dark. He's like, hey, I don't have a space scene. Best thing I could do is make it super. We're going to go out to this park late at night in California where it's kind of sandy hills and it'll be super dark and the lightsabers are glow. It's like, practical effects that are great. Use the steady cam so it's or the shoulder cam so we can bounce around a little bit. That way it shows the intensity. Like you could just that's what it felt like. They didn't have the capability to do something serious, so they used cheesy effects to make it work. I never had an issue with Obi-Wan struggling in the fight. That seemed realistic to me. Um, how he got out of the fire was ridiculous because the fact you could see Vader's sight and then they cut to his perspective where he
Yeah.
sees the droid helping him out and he's just watching him go and it's like, okay, that fire can't last forever. Also, you can walk around, um,
oh,
or just lift him through the force.
If
Um,
they would explain, like if Vader would have said something in a later episode, like telling Obi-Wan, I could have killed you if I wanted to, something to make it seem like,
you
okay,
go. Yeah,
there was a reason, but no.
yeah, exactly. If he's talking to someone else and he's like, you think I would have let him escape, or you think I couldn't let him, whatever. You
Yeah.
think I couldn't have stopped him?
Oh,
It would have
sorry.
been like, oh, of course you let him escape. That would have been different.
Yeah.
Although he took forever to find him. Once, in Star Wars, once you go hyperspace, you're pretty much lost again. Like you can't find somebody.
Yeah.
Except for the Last Jedi where they ruined that, but whatever. So the choking thing.
This jab with the Last Jedi, I'll never.
The choking thing, yeah. So I agree with you. Everyone, Star Wars Theory, our other buddy Matt, who's on this show, they all thought that was epic, classic Vader. They're like, that is how Vader would do it. He would grab everyone around him and squeeze their necks through the Force, and that'd be the end of them because that's he's hardcore. He's a no remorse, sociopath. And I think Buck and I were like, to an extent, if he has a purpose. And that's why we said there, maybe. But they're saying classic Vader, like, yeah, this is what he does every Tuesday, is bullshit to me. I don't think he would do that. I think he'd tell Reva and fifth brother over here, like, start killing. Don't stop until everyone comes out. And Vader just slowly, prowls the street. That's kind of how he would do it. He kills. It's so meaningless to kill these little people, and I'm not looking at it from like those poor people. I don't care. I don't know those characters. It's Vader. That's cool that he's doing that stuff. They can do it. They can. Like, someone was saying he can't. The other Inquisitors can't choke necks. Yeah, they can. If they can push steel around, they can squeeze a little soft flesh through the Force.
Yeah, they're perfectly capable of doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it goes back to at this point, Vader is the most. I mean, the people that know who he is, he's like the most feared man in the galaxy, right? So it's almost like at this point, he's at the peak of his power, and the level of level of respect that everyone's that's under him. It's almost like I see him more of sending his people that work for him, like the Inquisitors, to do that kind of stuff. He only comes out for the important stuff, for the stuff that only matters. You know what I mean? So him killing innocent villagers again, I'll let it go because it was Obi-Wan, but I just don't see him like that's Vader. I'm like, it is and it isn't. Like I said, when it comes to like the rebellion, the rebels, and all that stuff, sure, but I don't see him just killing innocent people at this point in his life just for shits and giggles.
2 moments now we've seen that after Obi-Wan and trying to increase his power to save Padme. So sure, he's slicing down younglings. That's the argument others are going to say right now. Like, well, what about when he killed everybody in the Jedi Temple, including kids? Right, he's trying to gain his strength to kill younglings. He doesn't do that again on a Tuesday when he's just whatever. It's like, what's for dinner tonight?
He didn't kill.
I'm
He didn't
actually
kill everybody.
shocked that Disney actually allowed the certain scenes of younglings and that scene where he just snapped a kid's neck, and Disney was okay with it.
Well, before the show
that you're okay with?
Before the show started, it said like some viewer discretion is advised. Yeah. Some events might be disturbing.
Yeah, I know, but even so, I'm just shocked.
Not on the third episode. They only did that on the last 2 episodes.
Oh, really?
Last 2 episodes,
5 and 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 3, I was like, that's when I realized, like, ooh, we're not gonna. I knew at that point, I was like, you're not gonna get what you want. Like, I was thinking of you, Buck.
You weren't saying it though. You didn't wait. You're like,
I was very frightened though. I want to go back to this text that morning because I think I was like,
Yeah, I was definitely like shaken too, but I still said, you know what, we're 3 episodes in, because we were all kind of like I think we said in the podcast too. We're like we're like, okay, it's there now. Next episode needs to bring it. It needs to like get focused and aligned to where
it's like that. Yeah. And I went to like there because of episode 3. I really after 2, I was up here. I was like, this is doing okay. I think we're gonna be all right. I dropped that much, and then 4 was like, okay, I broke the barrier. I'm below.
Let's talk about 4, the big drop.
Let's move on to 4.
Well, here's the thing: if I was a betting man going into episode 4, which I think I spoke about this before, everyone online, everyone I talked to, and all right, Obi-Wan's hurt. He's gonna be out of commission. He's probably gonna be in the back of the tank. This is our flashback episode. I know it. I know it. This is where it's going to happen. This is where we're going to get some good flashbacks with Anakin, Obi-Wan. We're going to get it. It's there. And it started out like that. It looked like it was heading that way. And nope.
Nothing.
we reviewed this episode before, so we can do really quick. Yeah, it was the worst episode of the whole damn series.
Absolutely.
I mean, by a mile.
It
It's
was
so
another
bad.
Rescue Leia. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was written so bad, put together so bad. Visually, it was probably the worst too. I think there are just some shots there. It was so bad. Riva interrogating Leia, the acting, no, it was not good. The escape plan, Leia hiding under the coat.
Also horrible.
It was a good Easter egg for anyone who's played the Jedi Fallen Order, right? But
Yeah.
it led to nothing. It wasn't like Cal, showed up or anything,
Nope.
So it was nothing. It was really just a waste. It was a filler episode in a 6-part series. That alone makes it so unbearable to watch. So I've said enough about that episode. So yeah, it's easily. I'm not sure what I rated it last time, but it's easy like a 2 or 3.
I give
out
it
of
a.
10.
I think I gave it a
It's bad.
4.
It's crap.
Yeah.
It's
I
crap.
liked like a couple moments in it, and after that, it was trash. It was confirming what I was worried about in 3. I was like, okay, I think this is gonna end up actually being very bad.
This was the episode where I was like, I'm not sure this is gonna recover.
Yeah, but 4 we were like, oh no, we're not
Yeah.
gonna get enough of what we needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if we could repaint what this episode should have been, because 3 could have been the worst episode. Like if you look at how 4 could have moved it along, we would have gone back and said 3 was our problem episode in the end. But 4 should have done what you said, the back to tank, just like many of us said. But mostly, you were all about this. You've been dreaming about this since it happened.
Yeah.
Think about it like this: I would have been fine with actually the great little flashback fight they had if he would have that flashback in the tanks here and there, because he did, and the reason why, because he just had that fight with Vader.
Yeah.
So it would be nice for him to reflect back to another, training fight with him, and start rebuilding that.
So heal. I mean, he was pretty he was messed up. He was burnt really bad.
Yeah,
And he
burns are bad.
he was in that for like 2 minutes and that's it. It was
Yep, 2 minutes, and he's not only that, he started like force healing pretty quickly
Yeah.
too. Like he's not force healing. He started recovering his force powers. But
Right.
so imagine, Clone Wars flashbacks are cool. And I actually thought when you said that, I always imagined like new scenes of them in the Clone Wars. But
Right.
imagine how cool this would be. Marco, you said something similar to this because you wanted that cut scene from what season, the original season 6 or 7, that was pulled out, and you said, I want to read the campfire scene about, imagine if that happened to you. So stuff like that triggered me to think they could have just taken, this would have been so cool to me now. I thought of this today. If they had taken scenes from Clone Wars, maybe nothing totally memorable, and recreated them live action, and that was some of his flashbacks, just little snippets, little 2-minute shots that were like actual the same dialogue in the same location, just taking it and literally adapting it for the live action. And some of those would have been his flashbacks, and they could have started that in episode 4, continued it in 5. It would have just been gorgeous to be like that, because that brings so much reality to what the Clone Wars were. I know it's legit canon. We brought characters into Clone Wars from it, but a lot of people look at it like, well, live action versus animation. To take that would have said, no, Clone Wars are real. We just took that scene from Clone Wars, gave it live action for you. That would have been what 4 needed to be. Not this second chase for Leia. We had no reason to go hunting down for Leia again.
Nope.
Waste of life right there.
Nope.
And starting to dip into what Reva's about. Yeah, I've had things taken from me.
Again, it was just an episode was an excuse just to dig into more Reva's character and just to waste more time on this character that went nowhere. But
yeah. All right, like I said, we talked about it.
Yeah.
All right. So 5. We have not talked about 5 on the podcast.
Talk about 5. Yeah.
But I'm willing to bet most of us found it to be somewhere around this range. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
Well, after episode 4, that wasn't really hard to do.
Yeah. Very true. I gave that episode a 7. I thought there was good character, like Tala, for example. I thought she did a great job in that episode.
I actually like Tala's character.
I like Tala's character a lot.
The fact that she hits stormtroopers in the head and all of a sudden they whatever. But I actually thought her character was what Reva's character should have been.
Yes.
Just a simple, like they explained her character, her motivation right off the bat, and she didn't take center of the show. She was just a good additional character, and that's all it was. And she ends up dying in this episode.
Yeah.
Really. But whatever.
We'll probably get a Tala show now.
No, she's dead now. Oh, prequel.
I mean, Andor, right?
True.
Joking.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
Yeah.
not going for that. I was just joking. Yeah.
I thought it
So
was
5.
that was where we saw the flashbacks. That happened obviously before episode 2.
Yes.
They
We
look
got a
like it.
flashback.
Was it before episode 2 or after episode 2? What do you think they happened?
No, this is before because he still has his arm.
He still has his arms. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
that
didn't
was
look at that though.
it was a
It
cool
was pre-Attack of the Clones.
pre-Attack
It
of the
was
Clones.
a
Yeah.
little bit before Attack of the Clones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I love the flashbacks. They're great. I love seeing. Finally, we saw Hayden, do something. Like we saw him in his prime. It took 5 episodes to bring him back. But...
And believe it or not, his little that he had, his acting was really good. It was natural. You could tell the difference between how he was in Attack of the Clones and this one. His interaction was very
I mean,
smooth.
it felt like Anakin. It felt like we were seeing Anakin again on screen for the first time, and he's.
And obviously, they didn't do a great job with the de-aging, but that didn't even bother me. I was
It
just
didn't
happy
bother
to
me
see
either.
finally that they were together in a flashback, even though it wasn't the flashback that I wanted. But yeah.
Yeah. And I loved the Obi-Wan kind of knew what Vader was gonna do ahead of time, and them going back into the flashback as comparison. That's kind of like a mirrored image.
Tactics, yeah.
I feel like they could have done that more in a Clone Wars scenario, just like you said. Because again, this is literally like a battle going on, like a tactical battle, and Obi-Wan and Anakin have been in plenty battlefields before. And it could have been a scene where Anakin is rushing into a fight and Obi-Wan staying back, protecting the clones, something. But no, instead they do a one-on-one training session.
That's what it should have been. I think each episode, we discussed this before, it should have been a little, they should have had a flashback in every episode, whether it's a little or a lot, something leading up to it. The Attack of the Clones flashback was fine, but that should have been like towards the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That's what was most frustrating about the episode, which it was good. Like the way they did it throughout the whole episode, going back and forth, it was great. But we needed more of that,
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
What else would you like?
I think probably the best. Sorry, go on.
I was like, by the end of it, it got pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I guess. Do you want me to jump in now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like leading up to it, we actually learn Riva's story. We know the whole thing at that point. At the end of the episode, not even the end, like towards the end, we figure out, oh, you were a youngling, no kidding, and Anakin apparently did stab. I kept thinking they were like doing some kind of artsy.
No, Anakin definitely stabbed her. Yeah,
got her, which was like, an adult maybe apparently can take it, but a kid like that's pretty traumatic.
It just goes to show that an old gut stab with a lightsaber doesn't mean anything anymore.
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So if she can survive that, and based on what, like at that stage of the game, she looked more fearful than angry and revengeful, which is what the Grand Inquisitor, Darth Maul, they all keep themselves alive because they're hate and their revenge. Did she have enough time to keep alive with that they didn't? I don't know. It just none of that was believable.
Yeah.
And then that's the motive for her becoming an Inquisitor is, well, good people around me died. The only way to avenge them is to kill other good people and rise to the ranks of Inquisitor so I can have a shot at Vader.
Yeah,
you already talked about. That was the stupidest part ever.
Yeah.
Her story's terrible.
Her story was terrible. I like the way Vader played her though. I like the way that
yeah. I know even some people have a problem with their acting. I was like, I'll be honest, I don't think her acting bothered me at all. It was on par with, many actors in Star Wars movies. Let's face it. I mean, some are okay. I just thought the character, I feel like you could take that character, pull her out, maybe come up with a better background story. And that could have been another show, an animated series character. That could have been a Bad Batch subplot. Could have been a video game even, and I'd be okay with that. It's like, hey, you get to be an Inquisitor, and you really have like a good heart for some reason, but you get to play that would. There's other places it could have been. It didn't need to take up 3 episodes of Obi-Wan.
It did not.
Like that's frustrating. I'm not. Yeah. It's frustrating because it's Obi-Wan, guys. I mean, this is
exactly
not the place to introduce a new character and try to make us care about it. And the poor girl didn't have a shot because no one wanted her. It's like, hey, we'd accept you if you were somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's
the biggest problem.
I actually feel similar about The Last Jedi. I feel like if that was in not a trilogy and that was just its own movie somewhere else, I could probably swallow a lot of that. I could say that's actually some cool stuff, and that's great because I got my own trilogy over here, concluding and ending this thing. But I didn't need to know about all this right now. It's just what it reminded me of. So I guess I want to go with the negative. You want to hit on the good stuff? I know you're about to say it. The Vader stuff at the end.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, the Vader stuff, and
Yeah.
I totally agree with the way they handled Reva's reveal. It was just, I think everyone knew pretty much that's where it was heading, and it was like that's it, really. That was the big reveal. It was nothing, and I still don't understand how we get that Vader stabbed her. Well, Anakin stabbed her. I still don't know how she knew he was Vader, though. You understand what I'm saying? 'Cause she didn't see him transform as Vader. It was,
Well,
I
he was
mean,
Darth Vader before he walked in that temple that night. He was
yeah,
titled
but did
Darth
he
Vader.
announce, "Hi, I'm Darth Vader"? Like I don't know. After that, when she stabbed, when he stabbed her, I don't see where she would still know that Anakin is Darth Vader. That's the
that's a
same
good
guy.
point. I never
Well,
thought about it like that.
I don't know.
I mean, there's definitely some behind the camera stuff that goes on. Not behind the
Maybe
camera,
maybe some
behind
clone
Yeah,
trooper.
yeah.
Maybe I know clone troopers called him Lord Vader in the temple, so maybe she heard a clone trooper call her.
I don't
That's
know.
true. If they would have said Lord Vader or something. I mean, I know that's how Yoda and Obi-Wan heard he was Vader. Like, that's Anakin. What are you talking about? I was like, no, that's
Well,
Lord
they
Vader. He's
saw the
talking to the
recording
Emperor.
of Emperor calling him Lord Vader.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know she didn't see that. I don't think she saw
No,
that.
there's no way. I mean, she said she was
Uh,
playing dead on the floor. So
I mean, she
but
sees Anakin killing, so perhaps she just put two and two together and learned that son of a gun is Anakin, you know.
I guess.
I guess
But it's not clear. We're having to
do
try
that.
too hard
Yeah,
to figure this
we
out.
can.
Yeah, we're having to try way too hard to figure this out.
Yeah, but yeah, Vader. I mean, Vader and Reva having their fight was actually really. I actually like that scene really like a lot. Even though again they had issues with the camera work and the jump scenes,
Yeah.
the shaky cam, whatever.
I
But
mean, it really showed Vader's
I
power
love
that
the
he
fact
didn't
that
even
Vader
lightsaber.
hardly had to pull out a saber
Yeah.
to even fight her. That's how overpowering he was.
Yeah,
It
he
was
didn't even
like
use
he
his
was
own
just
lightsaber. He used
playing
hers.
with her. Yeah, he was playing with her the whole time. I like the fact that the joke was completely on her. That she actually thought that she was 10 years going into this, her whole plot to be the head inquisitor so she can kill him. I don't know why she thought she had to be the head inquisitor to get. I mean, she's been near him a couple of times, but okay. Um, so that I liked, and I like that I thought he was killing her. I don't know why she didn't die, and I like that the Grand Inquisitor revealed himself to be alive again. I don't know how or why. I guess his hatred again. That's how they explained it, right? Or his hatred for revenge, right? That's what kept him alive.
But like, he
Um,
didn't even do anything. He kind of just like
he
grabbed the
didn't
badge
do
and put it
anything.
back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he grabbed and yeah, that was, and of course, Vader pulling the ship was cool. Again, visually, it didn't look that cool. I saw it still looked
I mean, yeah, but I think we're more focused
cheap,
on like Vader's raw power and like him
but the
tearing
fact
that
that he did
ship
that was cool.
apart. That was cool. That was the coolest
Yeah.
part of the episode.
Although, you know what, the switch and bait thing was, it reminded me a little bit of Rise of Skywalker with the whole Chewie thing. I wasn't crazy about that. I was like, that was kind of
Like that
corny.
actually, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Vader didn't realize there was
Like,
another
oh, you
ship
didn't
there.
see there's another one? Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay.
That was corny. And then it
But I mean,
wasn't
yeah,
like it was much further. It's literally behind the ship. He just, tore
Mhm.
apart. What does he have? Like, he can't use his powers for another 10
He
seconds.
just grabbed it
Dang,
again.
I just used it.
yeah.
It was on
Yeah.
cooldown, like the
Um,
Battlefront.
Yeah. That's
so I mean, it was a seven out of 10 for me for that episode.
a
So
cool down. Yeah, the effect sucked right there. I'm
yeah,
sorry, I'm not saying Vader can't handle it, but I still think that's a lot of mass, even for him to just kind of coolly take care of it like that. All right, more so than that, it just looked bad. And it's not like I've done a ton of visual effects or anything, but I know some of the basics are when you have a heavy object, it needs to move slowly. And he was hold that thing, and it was wobbling, like, swaying up and down. And it's like, no, that's a heavy transport. It's not like an X-Wing. I could see him possibly doing it like that, but it just wobbled way too much. It had that very old CG look to it. Even when he pulled the bulkhead off that ship, it was just like, I don't know.
yeah.
Corny. Seemed like there was something after that I wasn't happy with. Oh, that the uh freaking Silicon Valley guy drops the communicator conveniently. Like, oh, that was like, just something really important, and dumbass
Figure out a way to do it
Yeah,
somehow. I
and
guess.
sent the
and
message. Look, I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but yeah, I'm gonna go check on the Chosen One. If I don't hear back from you in like 10 minutes, I'm out here. It's like, come on, like that was the worst exposition ever.
yeah,
Um, all right, but I actually liked 5. It brought me back to like, it let me know there's no ultimate hope, but it's like I may end up being at least,
more hopeful. Yeah,
like it's gonna be better than worse, but not by much, because there wasn't any time left at this point. We're like, what time do we have left now? Thanks.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
all
wasn't
right,
I
go
wasn't
ahead.
a huge fan of Riva. I mean, the fight was cool, but again, a lot of Riva, a lot of her motive really didn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, she was a youngling trying to avenge her family, which was what, 5 other kids. How many, to be an Inquisitor for that amount of time? How many Jedi has she had to have killed to
Right.
even be an Inquisitor and to get up to that rank? She's probably killed more people than she's trying to avenge.
It's contradicting everything that she believes in. So what is the? I don't
I mean,
get
she
what was the
chopped off
whole.
an innocent woman's hand. Like,
Yeah.
like, why'd you have to do that to kill Darth Vader? I don't understand. It just didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I kind of see that part as being a spy. Like, you sometimes have to do things, that are kind of not great. But you're right. Like the Jedi part, I'm like, that's exactly the reason why you hate this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird.
It's silly.
And this just goes to the whole point of why. I mean, there's so much talk about her character, Reva's character, and why people hate on her. And honestly, it's really just this. It's just when it all comes down to it, she was just a very poorly written character.
Yeah.
A character that was just in this show that take her out, man. The show will be a lot better. There's room to do more with the show.
Yeah.
And her character did not need to exist.
The
If she was
episodes could have
written
been
great, fine, but she wasn't.
The episodes could have been the same length of time, and we could have gone just Obi-Wan's story. It would have been 10 times better. But
that could have been dedicated more story to Hayden. He brought back and he had like 5 minutes of screen time throughout the whole show.
That
That's
part's
it, man.
pathetic. Yeah.
That's bull, man. I mean, what is that?
As much as they pushed it, we were all just like, finally, we're gonna get amazing stuff here. We're gonna get to see it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm ready to move on if y'all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Vader holding 2 lightsabers again, but that was great.
Yeah. That was cool. Episode 6. The rumored hour and a half episode.
Hour and a half episode.
It turned out to be about
I don't know. I didn't
45 minutes.
I don't know.
Hey, that gave me some hope because I'm like, you know what? That's a lot. That's a whole movie right there. So there's a lot they could fill in. Not that it would fix the whole series, but there's a lot that they could maybe do a couple of more flashbacks, and finish off some of the arcs that were started and kind of give him more of a reason to like, okay, I could look back on this show to like, all right, it was actually pretty good. It wasn't that bad. But as soon as I started this morning and I saw 50 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, I would
yeah.
agree that if it was an hour and a half, that's 3 episodes. That would have been like, well,
Yeah.
great. It's kind of a 9-parter.
Yeah.
But 50. I said the same thing, but as soon as I woke up, I looked to see, okay, it's there, and I was like, 50 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I might go back to sleep because I woke up early enough to make sure I had the time. It was like, if it's an hour and a half, I need to make sure. I'm like, I hit snooze 2 more times. So, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I think I heard from you it's gonna be an hour and a half. Maybe it was on YouTube and I was paying attention, but I didn't hear it confirmed, so I wasn't like 100% counting on that.
Yeah. Again, it was just rumored.
I just thought honestly, it was a rumor, but I thought logically, since none of the episodes have even been a full hour, and there's so much they need to cover. I mean, it's like, an hour and a half sounds about right,
Yeah.
But no.
But has anything been right that I mean, up until this point, it's like their last episode. They're not
No, but you know how it is, man. You always get to hang to a little point of hope that they give you something to look forward to, something that's like, okay,
You know what? Hope you learn your lesson with Disney and Lucasfilm.
Yeah, well,
There's no reason to get excited. Andor looks cool, but you never know.
but what do you? I mean, as far as as far as episode 6, what do you guys like give it as a rating?
I think it's for me a bookend. It was kind of like my 8, just like the first episode was. It was as good. I think the beginning and the end were strong. For what it was, it wasn't. It's definitely not what it should have been. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But of the overall 6 episodes, it was like 8's on the end, 6's, and then the 5 in the middle. Right? Is that 5 episodes or a 6? I don't know.
6.
I think my 2 middle ones were 5's and 6's, and then I think a 7 for the 5th one. So
I mean,
liked it. This episode, I liked it. It could have been better. It phoned in everything that it was supposed to be in. Like, oh, we got to make sure we get Qui-Gon. We got to make sure they have the fight. We got to make sure Leia gets back safe. We got to resolve Luke. All this stuff. It's like check, check, check. But none of it was given too much attention, except for the fight. I did love the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I also did like this episode. I have my problems with it. I gave it a 7. I actually like the first episode more. I mean, again, the first episode gave me a great setup, fantastic, hypes, ready to go, perfect setup episode. The episodes after that could have been a lot better. I love the fight. The fight was awesome. Visually, you still saw some cheapness, but I mean, you were a little distracted with the actual Obi-Wan and Anakin fight again, the rematch. You saw both of them just show amazing power in the Force and how strong both of them really are. And it was great to see. Probably my biggest problem with that is that Obi-Wan picked up the Force like it was riding a bike right there. Like he just full force picked up 100 rocks and just threw them at Vader. And that was he just yeeted them at him. And it was just like, wow, that was cool, but it doesn't explain how he picked it up like that. Like at an episode, 2 episodes before, he was struggling to move a little piece of something, and there wasn't no awakening, there wasn't a rejuvenation, there was no clue or sign that we saw that Obi-Wan automatically knew to pick it up again. You know, except maybe when he was being buried and he saw he had something to live for, which was Luke and Leia. Maybe that was it, but I mean, I don't think that's enough, to be honest.
Well, remember in 4, he went from that I can barely move this, .m2 hard drive, this little tiny, 3-ounce thing with the Force on the table, and then an hour later, he's holding back God knows how many cubic feet of water, and pushing it back, and at the same time deflecting lightsaber bolts over here. So I think he got most of his mojo back in 4, and that was for me the big like, what the f,
Yeah.
Why now? So he probably only went from like, 60 to 90% full Jedi in this last episode, or hell, maybe 70 to 100%, right? So it wasn't to me the biggest leap as it was in 4.
Yeah,
I felt that then.
And I was a little annoyed that we got back and forth between the fight and Reva hunting Luke. That was probably the most annoying part of the episode, because at the end,
that out, man.
If you took it out, if someone edits that and just takes those scenes out, it would have been a perfect fight. Because
and they will.
Because honestly, Reva hunting Luke was pointless. Nothing happened. Not because in the end,
why was she so like, oh, this is my last way to get him back?
I mean, how did she not figure out that like Vader doesn't know Luke exists?
Yeah. Who do you think you're getting back right here?
She's not. It's no payback at all. You're just killing an innocent child for no reason.
Poorly written.
Yeah, it's
not your fault, Moses. We're not talking about you.
It's really not her fault.
You could have been a cool character in another series.
It's not her fault, man.
Moses, you could have been a badass in another series, but someone decided to put you in Obi-Wan where you had no chance.
Yeah, it's a shame because all the hate that she's getting is not deserved. It's really not. It's just because of it's the writer's fault.
All the hate should be going towards the writers, Kathleen Kennedy, and everyone who was involved creating the show, because I felt like they set her up horribly for this. They really did. They have no idea what Star Wars is, how the fans are, what they want, and they were literally setting her up to fail.
Like, do
That's
they
Vader
not
in it.
realize when they do something like kill the Grand Inquisitor? I mean, half of us right away were like, he's not dead. That's stupid. But why make that such a scene when we get so into the weeds on this stuff, and every one of us that's seen any of the anime shows like, what the hell? He's not dead. That's not supposed to happen. And then makes this question: Are you breaking canon? What are you doing here? Like they shoot themselves in the foot because then we start questioning what are they doing? They've already made him look like an idiot, like Megamind, and
It's
now they're
almost
gonna
like they like playing with the fans. Like they really know, like they like messing with us because I feel
Yeah.
like they know they're gonna make money either way. So they love to just really piss us off. That's
Yeah.
what they. I think that's what it is.
and then they
Yeah.
make the worst fans.
I mean,
That's
the
what happens.
majority of
Yeah.
the show was focused on plot points that we knew nothing was going to happen at the end of them. Leia got captured twice. We know Leia's going to survive, so there's no point in these chase scenes whatsoever. Luke is in danger. We know nothing happens to Luke. It's clearly in A New Hope. He's fine. He's literally the main character of the entire trilogy series. Like, it's just it's just wasteful material. I mean, we want to know what happened between Obi-Wan and Vader during this time. Like, we wanted to know that information. We don't
It
care.
should have been, more of a mental battle. It should have been so many more
There
flashbacks. It
there
should have been
should have been
Qui-Gon.
so much more dialogue too. Yeah, the fight was actually really good. I enjoyed the fight a lot, even though I had a problem with the shaky cam and whatever. But it was still the fight itself could have been one of the best fights we've ever seen in Star Wars because it had the potential and it was there. It was good. I mean, that whole scene where where Obi-Wan cut off Vader's mask halfway through in the middle. Hold on one second, this cat.
It looked just like when Ahsoka did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Popped him off.
So right. So you see Vader and you see Anakin and that whole. I mean, that was brilliant. That whole voice of Anakin and Vader together.
Yeah,
That was great.
that was
That
awesome.
was great. And that interaction there, where Obi-Wan's just looking at him and he's saying he's sorry
Yeah.
for everything, and Anakin for a second you see almost a hint of remorse from Anakin, right? Like this kind of sadness. Like he looked at Obi-Wan as for a second he was like, you didn't kill Anakin.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm not your
like
failure, Obi-Wan. Yeah,
I'm not your favorite. That was great.
that was great.
But
Like
that was
welling up
great.
in my
I mean,
eyes. It was beautiful. Yeah.
it brought almost a tear to my eye because it was so emotional. But the thing is, just imagine how much better that scene would have been if the show as a whole was executed better.
Stop
If we
it.
got so much more of the flashbacks and the interaction that
Yeah.
we should have gotten, it was there, and because of that, a lot of it just felt unearned. And then you're right, Obi-Wan's powers, even though it was cool, like he was lifting the rocks and everything. I'm thinking back to the episodes. I'm like, where did he get from episode 3 to now, where he was so powerful all of a sudden? It didn't make any sense. He got no like pep talks from Qui-Gon or any like sense
That would
of
have been
like
it.
leadership or what he needs to do or where he needs to go. It's almost like the whole show. I'm telling you, man, the whole show was basically things happening and Obi-Wan reacting to them. It was not really a sense of what he was going through. It was just things happening around him and he was reacting to it.
Yeah.
Because you never get a sense of how he healed and how he got to change from where he was in episode 1 to where he was now. It was just out of place, you know? I did like the fact that he did tie things up with Leia because I was a big concern as to how does she even go from now to episode 4 and I recognize him. They kind of did acknowledge that by him saying, when she said if she'll ever see him again, and he said maybe, it depends. Just if we do, we have to be careful because you can't let anyone know that we basically know each other or whatever. I forgot the interaction was, but
Yeah, there was something addressing that.
but it was something that was
subtle.
addressed there. So okay, it was like all right, so they addressed that, so
Do
that was fine,
they don't meet in A New Hope, do they?
huh?
They don't meet in A New Hope.
Well, they kind of do.
Oh,
Well,
well, they're at a distance. Yeah,
yeah,
right before he dies.
Yeah.
but see, do you remember when Luke rescued Leia in jail and he's like, oh, I'm here, Ben Kenobi. He's
Yeah,
like, oh,
Ben
Ben
Kenobi. Ben
Kenobi. He
Kenobi,
got all
man.
excited. So that does bring that scene to like, okay, well, yeah, it makes sense now. All right, cool. Um,
She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get rescued. That son of a bitch rescued me like three times already. I'm good.
Exactly.
That's what she thought of that,
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Emperor showing up with Vader.
so. Ooh, I like that.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. We actually heard the Vader theme finally. I'm like, all right, we got some old school Star Wars score going.
Yeah,
Oh, this is
I like that
great.
scene a lot. Yeah, it was a good one.
That scene was great. That was great. And Obi-Wan meeting Luke was kind of cool. You know,
Hello there.
that little send off, like, hello there. That was.
I didn't
That was
realize they hadn't met yet. I guess I did, until they. I was like, oh, I guess I didn't put together that they hadn't once before met already. So
Yeah, he said his famous "hello there" line, and it was kind of, people were like, there's clips now coming out of like Obi-Wan saying "hello there" in Revenge of the Sith, him saying "hello there" in this show, and then him saying "hello there" in A New Hope, and like it's kind of like
oh,
gradually they all sound very similar. It's like a harmony.
Yeah. Then of course, Qui-Gon showing up at the end. It was great because we finally got to see him. I really thought that they literally teased this whole thing with Qui-Gon and they weren't gonna have any payoff to it. They showed him. I just feel it was just not enough. A 5-second cameo towards the end was not enough. He literally showed up and he looked like he just came from a bachelor party. He wasn't even facing Obi-Wan. He looked lost. It was
he has
weird.
been. He's in a bachelor party for 20 years in the ghost life, like hanging out
Yeah,
with his old Jedi buddies. Like,
Yeah.
man, we've been drinking
Well, it was
for 20
about
years.
time.
dude.
In the meadows.
I'm sorry. If I was Obi-Wan, I'd be pissed the hell off. I'm like, really, bro? Not now is when you show up after everything I've been through? I've been
I
calling
almost
on you and
died.
nothing.
I'm almost died, and you come now.
Yeah.
And he just tells him, "Well, you just weren't looking. I've been there, Obi-Wan. You just weren't looking." I'm like,
It's not like
really?
he's calling your name every episode. I don't
Yes,
know.
I
Really?
was.
Yeah, he was
Was
looking
you
for you,
asshole?
dude.
I mean,
Yeah.
my biggest problem with Qui-Gon showing up is, again, it's, in my eyes, it's breaking canon, because in Clone Wars, when Yoda is going through his training of becoming a Force ghost, Qui-Gon Jinn tells him, "I don't have a physical form." But I think I've kind of accepted what your theory was, Rhett. He kind of learned 10 years after that,
Huh.
kind of learned to become a physical ghost. I mean,
'Cause
I
we don't
guess.
know if Yoda and him worked together on Dagobah
Yeah.
in 10 years. You know,
Yeah.
that's probably what
Yeah.
I
So
think happened.
I guess I'm okay with that theory.
I mean, look. If the Grand Inquisitor and Reva could get stabbed with lightsabers a bunch of times and still be alive, I'm pretty sure Qui-Gon could figure out how to, within 10 years, how to
Like,
have a
Well,
form
Qui-Gon's
as
the
a
only person who
Force
died
ghost.
by a stab to the gut.
yeah, he's
Right,
probably like, what the
exactly.
hell, man? What kind of magic is there? That well, hey, force healing suddenly is in the game. No, we didn't see it. Maybe some force healing took place behind the scenes.
Everyone's gonna go
Think
to
about that.
Qui-Gon. I got some shit to tell you, man. You could have lived.
He's like, did you know there was force healing? Force freaking healing, dude. But yeah, no, think about that. There is no mention of force healing in the old prequels.
No.
Sequels, Mandalorian comes around, force healing. Suddenly you got Grand Inquisitor and Reva getting stabbed. Behind the scenes force healing, they're fine. And now, every time someone gets stabbed, I'm not going to believe it. Be like, sure,
Yeah.
No, they're
get shot
alive.
in the face, whatever.
Yeah. Even in a Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shan gets messed up in the gut area, and she just gets
Yep.
surgeried up.
Yeah.
The guts. You can
But
fix
see,
the
at
guts.
least they explain it, though. They explain
True,
it.
they explained why
I mean,
she
as
survived.
stupid as it is, they explained it. Even Darth Maul, like, got split in half. I know it's ridiculous that he lived, right? But they did go through some kind of explanation as to why he
He
did
survived,
live.
yeah.
There's no reason. They have no explanation for really the
For
Grand Inquisitor.
Reva
Reva-
or Grand Inquisitor, yeah.
Grand Inquisitor, no, but I could see more, while they haven't shown it, he could have gotten the gut surgery, the cyberpunk surgery. Like Darth Maul, he knew how to harness the dark side, so he probably knew there's a way to keep myself
Yeah.
going with
I
revenge.
mean, the other
That little baby
explanation,
Jedi, that little baby Jedi was just learning some kata from,
Yeah.
Mrs. Miyagi over there.
Yeah.
And then, now I don't know about force. I mean, I heard a cool rumor. Maybe. Depends on what your point of view is of this, but perhaps Grogu came along with whoever saved Grogu, and maybe as he's walking back was like, "Meh," did his little heel job.
and healed
'Cause he
her.
was around then. He was at that scene. He was taken
If he
from
was with the person that saved him, why didn't they all go together? Maybe she would be with Grogu.
yeah, circumstantial, because as soon as he starts to try to save him, some freaking clones come around the corner. I don't know. Like, hey, you
I
there,
don't know.
stop.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
I
I
can only
mean,
save one of you.
so I mean, also the you're right, Buck. The ending where Qui-Gon shows up pissed me off too, because these new Disney writers, they showed that these Force ghosts come in times of need.
Right.
For example, look at Yoda in The Last Jedi. Luke was
Yeah.
struggling and needed help with answers, and who comes along? It's Yoda. Yoda comes along and gives him answers and hope and a pep talk, you know.
Luke was not looking for Yoda.
No,
Yoda
not at all.
appeared
And
because,
Yoda just
yeah,
showed up.
right. So
Look
he
at
just,
Rise of Skywalker. Rey is struggling. She's upset. She's pissed off. And who comes and shows up? Luke as a Force ghost. I mean,
Yoda, Empire Strikes Back. Luke is abandoned in the snow, about to freaking die, and
yeah.
freeze to death, and Obi-Wan appears for the
Obi-Wan
first
appears.
time.
Go to Dagobah. You'll be fine. it's just,
Okay.
it's just. Why would Qui-Gon show up in a time period where he didn't need help? You know, I mean, now he's gonna get his training. We're not gonna see it, but now he's gonna get his training of being a Force
I guess
ghost.
his training is to like learn how to become a Force
Yeah, that's what
ghost,
it's gonna be
right?
about.
But again, still, you couldn't show up at least as a voice to help your old, Padawan out in time of need, especially knowing what
Yeah.
he's facing up, what he's facing. Like, I don't, what he's up against. I don't get
And they
that.
could have played off of your whole Clone Wars thing and said he's not totally Force Ghost there yet. Like he could have been there as just a voice for a while through some of the episodes. Maybe he heard his voice in episode 3 in the back to tank. Like he did respond to him.
Yeah, man.
And that kind of perks him up and maybe gives him some of that recharge that kind of helps develop. He doesn't have to appear. He doesn't have to give him any guidance. Just
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, now's not the time. Something like that. It's just enough to get him off his feet again and then increase that, and then yes, perhaps at the end he appears as an apparition. It doesn't. I don't know. It's just they could have worked with it, but you
Yeah,
start to
There's
wonder
so
if they
much they
even
could have
saw
done that
those
was so
episodes in
easy.
Clone Wars. You know,
And I want to clear this up too because I feel like, especially for me, I really I complain that about the Clone Wars flashback that what we didn't get and what should have been in the show, I know a lot of people like complain that people complain about wanting to have Clone Wars in this show, which is purely stupid and just crybabies, and they just want fan service. And but the thing is, man, that's it's so not true. It really isn't. I mean, with this show, it made perfect sense for that to happen. I mean, it would just elevated what Obi-Wan was going through and what Vader and Anakin were going through, both of them. It made perfect sense. I mean, do you realize? I don't think Padme was barely even mentioned from Anakin at all. I mean, how can they have not like mentioned that especially between him and Obi-Wan? I mean, there wasn't even a conversation. Nothing. I, it just
maybe
it
yeah.
just feels like the point of them having flashbacks on the show was such an important thing that should have been a part of the show. It wasn't a fan servicey thing. If anything, it would have helped people who have not seen the Clone Wars and would have seen more of the relationship that we didn't get to see in the prequels. Because honestly, we didn't get to see much of the prequels as far as the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It was very,
no,
very, the
that's true.
second one, it like they hated each other, they were annoyed. And the third one, we saw more of them kind of being
The first like 30 minutes maybe.
but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's and that's going back to my whole expectation about the show. I mean, because that's what's so disappointing because this show, what I thought was going to be, was honestly what George Lucas could not bring out of the prequels because George Lucas had the vision, he had the storytelling. He wasn't a good director. He just wasn't. He didn't know how to direct his actors, and that's a big part of why the prequels failed. It felt empty and hollow because the acting was just so bland and it didn't feel like anything.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking now, man, they can get that right. They get this could be redemption for Hayden Christensen. He got so much crap over the years for his portrayal as Anakin and Vader, and this could be his comeback story, man. They could actually do some real good stuff in here, and he could prove the fact that he's actually a real good actor. He was just directed horribly, and he didn't really get to do that. It was the directing, I think, honestly, here from Deborah Chow, and I'm not trying to be a jerk off, but man, it wasn't good. The directing of the show was not good. A lot of the decisions that were made, the way the shots were, like again the shaky cam, the visual effects, it was pretty bad. I mean, the writing was horrible. A lot of the stuff, a lot of things that it felt like it was just thrown together. Like You could tell like they were ripping. It felt like they were filming and writing the script as they were as they were filming the show. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Similar to some sequels we've seen.
So yeah, some people just in that show, even the actors felt lost. Like they didn't know what they were actually in a Star Wars show.
It's
I
kind of
don't.
interesting. I could say all the OGs that return, everyone who had been in a Star Wars movie before was pretty damn good. I didn't see any
Yeah,
issue.
look, Ewan McGregor
You
killed it.
know,
Ewan McGregor,
Jimmy
And for the little
Smith,
part that we had of
Jimmy Smith.
Hayden,
Owen,
he was great. You know.
and I say for the new actors, little Leia's character
Yeah,
had it down.
Bail
That was
Organa was
Little
good
Leia was
too.
great.
huh?
Bail Organa, he was good.
Yep, Baylor, yes, same. Jimmy
Yeah,
Smith.
little part. Yeah, yeah,
Even you got the wife got some screen time. I don't think she
Mhm.
said a word in
yeah, yeah.
episode 3.
I don't think
Baru
so.
Lars, she was cool. I thought she
Yeah.
was
Hey
pretty
man,
good looking
she
too, to be
was.
honest with
Yeah,
you.
man, she was hardcore.
Like,
Let me tell you,
She was going
she was.
Rambo in her house. She was
Yeah.
yeah, like it, the how much that was another thing. Owen in this episode, Owen and Baru, you could tell how much they care. He's like, no, he is my boy, or that is my son. I can't remember how he put it, but and then when Baru jumps out, he's like, Baru, she's coming. She comes like a freaking like lioness out of there defending her son, like I will defend and destroy you. Get out of my house, woman.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Um, how about this? Obi-Wan's so strong right now. How does he go back to being weak old Ben in 10 years?
Well, I mean,
I don't think he's Rico
I don't
Ben.
think he's weak old Ben either.
I don't think he's Rico Ben.
Yeah.
He's.
Slow
I
moving
think
old.
his time. He knew his time was done, and he was.
Yeah.
I know that but
Because
he
in
could
5
not-
years, 5 years after the events of Obi-Wan, he fights Darth Maul and wins. So I don't think he's necessarily in the point where he's weak and old.
Yeah, and he whips Darth Maul's ass in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but it was like that was a strategic.
Yeah, it was a
little
mind
move.
game
It
more
wasn't
than
so
anything.
much-
Yeah.
He knew he couldn't get his heart rate up. Is what it looked like. Like I better end this fast because I'm a little ticker. um, uh, not to mention, just like he throws the boulders at Vader. Great scene. But I was almost like believing. I almost like the fact that hey, he's losing his force powers. He just got dragged through the fire. Like I could see why he's starting to look pretty slow moving and pretty weak by A New Hope. But then they flip that because it's like, well, never mind. He's freaking Superman now for a little for the next moment,
Yeah.
and he's gonna hang out with Qui-Gon. So I'm sure that's gonna only get better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was a little like that's nitpicking at this point because I was happier with what I got. I will say for the person who thought I never wanted to see the rematch of the century, I thought that might have been the best part of maybe the whole show.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Rematch of the century.
I
don't
mean,
know, guys. I mean, now I think with Filoni and Favreau not attached to anything else, I'm gonna probably have concerns forever.
absolutely. You have every reason to because truly they're the only two I feel like that can.
It really shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't.
It's
You're
a
right.
lot
It
to
absolutely
ask.
shouldn't.
It's a lot to ask of Filoni and Favreau to take on this whole massive Star Wars universe on their backs. There's got to be other people out there that know Star Wars. Like, look, man, fans like us, we're not writers, but I tell you, I'll put money on any one of us. We could have written a better script for this 6-part miniseries.
Sure.
Any basic fan of Star Wars could have done better than
Could
this.
have made a
crap.
2-hour movie would have been better.
This was crap. I'm sorry. I mean, come on.
We could have been advisors at the very least. I mean, when they start writing some bullshit, we're like, look,
that doesn't make sense.
And it's not even like, look, I can tell you on the canon side that doesn't work, and I can tell you the fans are not going to like this. You will take people off, and they're just going to start doubting you more. You want to raise their spirits and give them hope. You need to write about this sort of stuff.
And this is Kathleen Kennedy's doing, without a doubt, because they said it. She even said it. There were scripts, I think 2 scripts that they had for this show.
Yeah.
And they were basically, it was supposed to be a movie. Another one was supposed to be a 10-part miniseries, and it was ripped. They tore it up because it was too dark. It was too whatever. This was all her doing. This was, I'm pretty sure those 2 of the scripts that were thrown away were better than what we got. Easily.
Probably.
Yeah, you could just see it. It came down to the episode 1, 5, and 3. 1, 5, and 6. We're kind of like the core. Like you could take out the middle. Just you're saying there's going to be people editing stuff. Take out all the Reva scenes altogether, and you get for the most part like episode 1, some of 3 and 5 and 6, I guess. Like the fight with Vader. And they're
And they're
like,
gonna
"Oh,
do it.
shoot, that's not
They're
enough to
still gonna
make
do it.
even a movie." They're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
thinking for them, that's not enough to make a movie. What do you do to fill in that gap? Kathleen Kennedy. You can introduce a new character and
Mm.
we can have someone new that shows hope and we need to get the point of view from a bad guy now. Like you could just see the idea of throwing in something completely to like fill gaps, and that's all it did. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah, but
And
this episode, the last episode, I'd give it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 only because of the fact that the Riva stuff was waste of time, and
yeah,
that took away again from what
core
could have been.
core units of the show that
Yeah,
were important.
yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
that's why I gave it
Go
a
ahead.
7 too.
7 for you. I'm gonna go with an
it
8.
needs to be
That's a
longer.
little
It needs to
high.
be longer.
Yeah. Look, Riva, her whole making, her reason for it happening sucked. I'm gonna be the one oddball out here for a second. I did kind of feel at the end of it when she said she couldn't do it and she couldn't kill Luke because she saw herself laying there and realizing, what am I even doing here? She should have realized that forever ago. But and then she's talking to Obi-Wan about it. I actually felt that for a minute because I was kind of like, they're both broken because of Anakin. Really, like they kind of have that bond on the same day. They both fought Anakin, and I actually was where she was at. He's at peace and she's at peace because of where they got to together. I guess I was like, I guess that's okay. I didn't need her, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying was a pivotal part of the story. They could have left her out, but now that we're here, I'm saying that because I know we're probably going to get more Riva. And what am I going to do? Not watch it? I'm probably going to watch it. I mean, and I'm trying to find a place to start from. So 8 gave me a good feeling. I was pretty happy coming out of it. Uh, Similarly, what would you guys think of the rumor of them actually? Here we go with the rumor chain again. Doing more Obi-Wan.
Season
What
2.
could they do, and would you want that?
I mean, they would have to. Well, now that we know where Reva is in the story, she's kind of like at peace. No more Vader. The question is, where is she now? I mean, are we gonna see her in more Obi-Wan shows if they're gonna continue it? I hope. I mean, probably. If they're not gonna give her her own show on the side, we're probably gonna see Obi-Wan in training with Qui-Gon. Now that he's on Tatooine, probably permanently. Probably something's gonna happen with Luke, so probably another event with Luke happening. Even though that was another weird point of the show that I kind of had a little bit of a problem with, where he told Owen, "You're the only protection he needs now," and he kind of just like moves out of his cave. I thought that was a little odd because we still see Ben protecting Luke later in the future. He protects him from Darth Maul when Darth Maul's on Tatooine, and he says that Luke is the chosen one. And we see him rescue Luke from simple Tusken Raiders in A New Hope. So I mean, it's not like he's gone; he's still there to protect him. So I don't know
Yeah,
why he would say such a weird line as "You're the only protection he has now," or something along the lines of that.
yeah.
A little
What do you
strange.
think, Buck? I read that a certain way, but what are you about to say?
I don't know how I feel about it because honestly, this series for me as a whole has been a letdown. And if you're gonna do a season 2 with Deborah Chow again, which I'm not a fan of her directing, and I don't know if I could take another 6 episodes of what that's what they're gonna do of her directing style. If they're gonna keep the same visuals, and the same writers, I'm not sure if I'm okay with it. And I'm not nuts about the fact that yeah, where Obi-Wan's at now. I feel like to do a second season, they're gonna have an excuse for him to leave again, and he's probably gonna have Reva look after Obi-Wan and Luke
Luke,
and everything else. And then Vader cannot be involved in episode 2 and season 2. They
no,
cannot meet again.
he
If
can't.
they do that, they're playing with fire at this point. They're really messing with the canon.
It
So
has to be no more Obi-Wan versus Vader. That has to be the last time they meet or see
right,
or
yeah, yeah.
talk
I mean,
at all.
if this show was a success in my eyes, where we got pretty much not perfect, but pretty much what everything was executed very well, and we have writers that know what they're doing, I wouldn't have such an issue with it. And, I'd be okay. They could probably just, have something happen in Tatooine and Obi-Wan can have his little adventure there. Sure, I got no problem with it, but
Yeah,
I don't
a
trust.
force related season,
Right.
kind of like
I
Jedi
do not trust
surrounded.
the creatives behind this show. You know, I don't. And because look, let's face it, the show is successful. I think it is probably the most popular show,
It's
a
well
Star Wars
liked.
show on
That's something we haven't talked about.
Disney Plus.
Everyone likes it.
Yeah.
Maybe not everyone. Maybe not
Not
everyone.
everyone.
The reviewers really like it. IGN
It's
likes it.
it's being it's being watched for sure. And that's the thing. I mean, they're not. If that's the case, then they're not going to see any reason to improve upon the show because they're just going to be like, well, I mean, it was great. We don't need to change the budget or anything. You know, Deborah Chow, I guess, did a great job. Like,
So I kind of feel like the worst of the damage is done right now. I don't think they're gonna go against their word if they say Obi-Wan season 2. I think it's more like this was an Obi-Wan. We even talked about this. This is an Obi-Wan miniseries. If anything, it's gonna be the Reva show afterward, or the Reva miniseries. And it's gonna be 6 episodes of her interacting with Ewan. Hayden may come back for something, but I think Qui-Gon's gonna be in there and it's gonna have scenes with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. But I think it's gonna be her doing the Jedi path. She's probably gonna go work with whatever the guy we thought was gonna be Quinlan Boss. Um, and I bet it's going to be more of while she's helping Jedi and Force sensitives get free, the Empire and the Grand Inquisitor will catch on to it. They'll catch her. They'll catch her assisting the situation. Be like, third sister, you're still alive, and then it turns into a hunt for her. Like, yeah, we need to finish her off so we can end this Jedi salvaging system they got.
Yeah.
And I bet that's the plot of that one.
Yeah.
How to destroy that system, and perhaps that's how Reva dies. You know,
Yeah, that would have to be her death ultimately
that would have
because
to be it, probably. Yeah. She becomes a hero. She saves others to make amends for what she's done in the past. That's the easiest path they can make for that character, right? At this point, it's like she killed a lot of people and probably some Jedi, so and at least was a part of getting Jedi captured and killed or whatever. They'll probably revisit that plot line of the tomb they called it, right? Like we
the
don't know what that's
in
about.
the Inquisitorius
Yep.
yeah,
Inquisitorius.
you don't know. Yeah, exactly. We don't know what that was or what
Yeah.
was that about at all. Huh?
And the thing is too, like you said, we probably wouldn't get Vader in this one. I think you'd have some Ewan and some Liam Neeson, but I think Hayden and Vader would be maybe a cameo at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think they could do much with him, and it's a shame because I think the way to make up and hear our feedback is for them to go, I guess it would have been cool to have seen some, reflection of Obi-Wan and Hayden in the Clone Wars. And now to go from, because we saw basically Obi-Wan, I think's point of view from that flashback, I think. It could now be Vader's point of view, and it could be him thinking back to being Anakin from Anakin's point of
Yeah.
view
Well,
with
No,
there's some
I
talk.
think it was more Vader's flashback. What the flashback episode you're talking about?
Which
Is that what
one?
you're talking about, or
the yeah, it may have been both. Now that I think about it, I don't know if they really kind of went
it was a little bit of both, but it started off with Vader actually.
did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Interesting. I mean, I was also I heard there was some talk of possibly just them doing a Darth Vader show.
I'd like that actually.
I would,
That's what people want.
yeah,
And
I would love
I'd be
that,
all for that. Sure, of
but
course.
I don't think they're gonna do it. Simply because it's too much Darth Vader. He's too dark. He's too, cruel.
I think it's because it's what we want. They never
That's what
want to
we
give us
want. That's
anything we
why it's
want.
too simple.
Yeah,
Like,
that's all we want. Darth Vader show.
$1 billion, silver platter. It's right there. No, no, no. New character? Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah,
It's the whole
it'll be a Darth Vader show, but it's basically an intro to a new character that we care nothing about,
Yeah.
and that's how it will be. That's how they do
Like
these
an
things.
Imperial spy or something very
Yeah.
minor.
Yeah.
God. Hey, what'd be cool is if they threw in some live action Thrawn, because we're probably gonna get that in Ahsoka. Excuse me. Whoa. But if we got the younger Thrawn, like the
That would be
Rebels era,
cool. That would be cool.
Look, I'm looking forward to the Ahsoka show because not only, I mean, look, it's
Basically,
Filoni and
Rebels
Favreau
season 5.
behind it.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen is gonna be in that show, and I'm hoping they do justice to Anakin more in that show than
Because
they did in this.
that's just
Flashbacks.
pure flashbacks. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, because they didn't do a service.
They
to him.
could get Ewan back for that too. He was in. They were the three of
They
them were
could if they
together
wanted to,
occasionally.
yeah.
That would be
Mhm.
amazing. Oh, don't get excited about it because you
Yeah, don't
No,
even.
no,
we
Yeah,
all
no,
know
no,
that's
no,
don't
not
even
gonna
yeah.
put
happen.
in. Don't even put in your head, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a here's another thing. We've said this maybe in one of our first podcasts. I think Mandalorian does really well because the weight of what happens in there doesn't matter that much. It's a new character you never heard about to begin with.
Right.
It's post the major events of the story. We're just kind of showing some, how things settled. It's just neat to see Star Wars. Here's the day in the life of someone who lives in the Star Wars universe after the Empire. That's great, and it doesn't concern you because you can't mess up Obi-Wan or Vader because of this. Um, God dang, I think I've been. It's not trying to like go back and look what I said back then, but I remember going, dude, when they announced Episode 7, when they first bought it day one, I was like, ooh, I kind of wish they would just get away from the Skywalkers. Like 1 through 6 is done, but I think that story's good. Why don't we just go make something new? Let's go talk about the Old Republic or something. Let's get away from this era. And I think Mandalorian isn't that, but it's enough away from them. It was enough from the main stuff originally to go, hey, this is fine. Now we're into Luke, and I actually loved everything they've done with Luke in Mandalorian. So
Yeah.
maybe they know how to do it on that side of the spectrum. That's
The
Filoni.
thing is with Mandalorian too. I mean, just the show itself. Forget the story for a moment. The way it's directed, the way it's shot, it looks cinematic. It feels like Star Wars. I mean, it doesn't look cheap,
Yeah,
and especially
it
season
is.
two. I mean, everything we got in season two from Ahsoka, Boba Fett,
Jeez.
Luke showing. I mean, it was so
Bo-Katan.
great.
Just so many callbacks.
Bo-Katan.
I mean, it
And,
was.
and honestly, I think that's the way to do it. Each episode is directed by a different director. So it gives us a chance that if we don't like this certain directing style, at least the next one is not going to be the same director. It'll be totally different. I mean, that's the way it should be. I mean, I
Yeah.
actually thought that maybe having just one director doing the whole series was the way to go because maybe, we weren't too nuts about Robert Rodriguez doing what he did in Book of Boba Fett. But honestly, I think it hurt this show even more because it wasn't good. The way Deborah did her directing styles for these episodes, they weren't good. It just
We
wasn't.
all agreed that we liked Deborah Chow's Mandalorian episodes. So
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah. Well, we
I
like
had
we
to look
liked
him up
Ron
now.
Rodriguez again in Mandalorian second season. We did
Yeah.
the Boba Fett episode.
I truly I
Honestly,
mean it really goes back down to writing too because
yeah,
those stories are so well told in Mandalorian because
Yeah.
the people who wrote those stories knew Star Wars. It that's truly it.
Yep.
we got to find which episodes she directed in Mandalorian. I was trying to see if I can come up with it real quickly. I'm not going to be able to, but I'm curious to know which ones she did because seems like I like those. I don't think there were many episodes I totally disliked. I think that first prison break one I didn't love. It had its moments that were cool, but you remember that one?
Which
Prison
one?
Yes,
break,
Prison
yes,
Break?
yes, yes. I
one where
remember
they
that
got
with the
Yeah, yeah, I know
Twi'leks.
that
Yeah,
episode. Yeah.
I was like, it didn't do a lot for. There was like one or two that just didn't blow me away. It makes me wonder now. Was that a Deborah Chow episode?
Yeah. And I
Anyway,
know some people are excited for Bryce Dallas Howard because she's done a couple episodes for Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and they love her episodes. And they're like, oh, she needs to be directing Star Wars. I'm like, you know what? Not so fast because it doesn't really go
yeah.
very well when it's just them
You
taking
get your
over
own
the.
show.
I don't
That's where
know.
it's at. It's over.
I don't
So
know. Yeah.
in
yeah,
conclusion,
Uh,
the thoughts on the Obi-Wan show as a whole.
as a whole, what do we rank the show as a?
I give it a 6.
6. It's
I
fine
want to
though.
give it a 6 so bad. I really do, but
Struggling, I know.
it's a 5, man. I'm sorry. I expected a lot from 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 the show, and it didn't deliver. It's a 5 out of 10. I'm only giving it a 5 out of 10 because of Hugh McGregor and Hayden.
That's the only reason I'm giving it a 6 because of
If
that.
that's the only reason I'm
Yeah,
giving it a 5. If it wasn't for them, this show would probably be like a 3.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Honestly, they
This show is as good as an average
yeah.
expanded universe novel taking place in between two movies.
They could have
That's about what
they could have
happened.
taken out 50% of the content we got and made it into a
Yeah.
movie.
Yep.
And
Or just not had that content and gave us more of the content that was good. Anyway, all right.
this
So
honestly,
six,
and believe
five.
it or not, a part of me, I mean, the part of this actually hurts a little more than the sequel trilogy. Only because of the fact that this should have been a layup, man. This was something simple that a character that we love. It was so simple to actually go in and give the fans we were looking for
Yeah.
in here. It was very simple. They had everything laid out for them. They've had the Clone Wars. They've had the past movies to look upon. This should not have been so difficult to put together, and it was a mess. It was so poorly put together.
Yeah.
It just yeah,
It's a damn shame.
it
It
is.
is.
And I'm
Hayden
glad there's
Ewan,
people
don't
out there
get
liking
mad.
it, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. For those who put their heart into the show and making it, I'm glad people out there are enjoying it as much as they are, because it's not like any three of us, we did not want to come out of here feeling disappointed.
No, we
Like,
wanted
we
to like
wanted to
it.
love it so
Yeah.
much. We feel like we were the ones who stood behind Star Wars all those years, and when the prequels getting talk trash, I did have to like hang my head low because I knew they weren't great, but
Yeah.
I knew there was enough there to like get me by. And I think I hate to say it, but this reminds me a little more of, you're gonna probably slap me for this, but the prequels, because I came out with some disappointment when they were new to me. I loved
Everyone
them
did
starting
though.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people did. I grew to like them. I'm not saying I could do the same here. I don't know, but um, yeah, there was a lot. I had plenty of issues. It just seems like since then we should have learned a lot in
That
how many
that's
years?
that's my issue with it.
15,
Yeah.
17 years ago. We should have learned a lot since then. So it seems like they left with very similar issues from both the prequels and the sequels. And it's like, guys, don't just do what you need to do.
It's
Don't
really
try to
hard to
be
be a Star Wars fan nowadays because of
getting harder, especially
yeah,
when
yeah.
we're getting so much content. And all we used to say is, can you imagine how much Star Wars we're getting these days? Like, this is going to be great. But now I'm starting to realize maybe it was better left in reserve.
They're really just shooting out quantity over quality.
For sure.
It's like what Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park. The creators of Disney were so worried about whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. And
Good point.
that's just it.
That's it.
Nailed it.
That's it right there. And I think that is a good spot to end tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight on the Worst Fans podcast. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's all we have to say.
Yeah, I'm like ready to move on. I've started watching Stranger Things season 4. I'm a little behind the world, but perhaps I'll be there next time. That could be a topic we hit up. So
Yeah, that's perfect.
we'll move it into a show that I am thoroughly enjoying. I'll just say that much.
That's true. And hopefully the next podcast will be a little more cheery than this one.
Yeah.
So thank you
Really
guys
not
for
to tell.
watching. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.